Hi, everybody, and welcome to this latest post-game edition of the Michigan State Spartans Insider Podcast. I'm your beat reporter from Michigan State Spartans on SI, Aiden Champion. Going to be talking some football here today. Spring practice nearly over, if you can believe it. I certainly can't because it feels like this just started. One more spring practice. That'll be Saturday. Unfortunately for the fans, no spring game this year. That's a new trend in college football right now. We're seeing it all over. A lot of programs have canceled their spring games. Michigan State's reasoning is a little different than other programs. Obviously, we've heard of other programs wanting to avoid any risk of, um, transfer portal scouting and whatnot. But Michigan State, they had a few reasons, one of which Jonathan Smith had said they really wanted to utilize all 15 practices and, particularly that week leading up to the spring game, you know, he didn't want the emphasis to be about prepping for that game or showcase, whatever you want to call it. And so, they want to make sure they utilized every single practice. I asked him about that today, and he said he feels that they have, and that's a good sign. Um, I know it's just spring ball, and and you can make of it what you want. Right now, it's the most exciting thing when you're talking about football. I mean, obviously, the transfer portal just opened back up, and that that really is the most exciting thing. That's what it's what we write about. It's what you fans and readers want to read about, want to know about spring practice. Not so much, if we're being honest. But you do like the updates. We all do. I mean, we want to know what's going on with the team and whatnot. But if we're being honest, what we learn in spring, it's going to be a lot different from what we learn in August or I guess late July. That's when fall camp will start. But good things we're hearing. Obviously, I mean, I wouldn't expect the staff to say much bad, but I do think that this team is doing the right things to move in the right direction. And, I mentioned the portal opening up on Wednesday, and I don't expect there to be as, much of a haul as last year, going out of the spring game when there was that abundance of outgoing transfers. Obviously, that's not saying a whole lot because that was a big haul. But I think these guys right now, most of them are locked into what Jonathan Smith is trying to build here. And I think they're all in. We obviously saw Anthony Jones transfer out after 1 year with the program. It's a tough loss, but they added some edge rushers from the portal this winter, and I'm sure there will be some more this spring. But you know, speaking of which, I Smith had said today that really, I mean, they're kind of open to anything as far as transfer portal. I, you know, I think this team is all about competition. Jonathan Smith has stressed that competition, depth. So, they'll take who's available, who's out there, who they like. And, even if there is a room that they feel they're pretty set at, I think they're willing to add to it and to build on competition. Obviously, there may be more needs too if we see more guys start to leave here in the coming days. But, um, it seems like they've got a solid group right now. Smith had said, as far as areas they've really progressed, he likes the man coverage. That has really um, taken a step forward, which is, it's good to hear because pass game obviously was not great last year. Um, and then the other area of weakness, offensive line. And he said that he feels they've gotten more physical up front. And you would hope that's the case. I mean, considering the guys they've brought in from the portal, he seems to really like Golbin, and it seems like he really is going to be this team starting center. He likes Connor Moore, and um, I certainly think that this offensive line will take, will take the unit as a whole will take a step forward. Um, and that's big because it was a big reason why this offense wasn't as consistent last year. Um, and so I think that will help a lot. Smith was also asked about depth, where he thinks they're the deepest. He said inside linebacker, and that's big. The front seven was pretty deep last year as well, and that was a strength of theirs on defense. And I think it will be again this year, um, especially depending on how many more guys they add to the front seven. So that's a big that's a big positive. And then you look at Smith, also said wide receiver room is deep, and we know that. We saw how many guys they brought in through the portal. I think this is, you know, they did a tremendous job at giving Aiden Childs the weapons he needs. Um, you're bringing back Velling, who we're expecting to take another step this year. Um, the expectations were pretty high for him going into last year, didn't exactly meet them. And there's a lot of reasons for that, but bottom line is he just didn't live up to it. And I think he will this year. He's even though he was familiar with the system last year, there's something to be said about being in the same place, even though it's the same people, the same place, same environment, um, for another year. And I think that will help him a lot. I think he's matured just in how he talks, and I think he really is embracing a leadership role on this team, and he's got the familiarity with Aiden still, and that's key. And then, of course, Nick Marsh, expecting him to have a big year too, will more than likely be, the wide receiver one for this team. But then you look at the other receivers and guys from lower levels, but nonetheless, had tremendous numbers last year for their former schools. Everyone seems to be high um, on Krishan McCray, and I am too. I think he'll be big. He's called Big Play McCray. So remember that nickname as you familiarize yourself with him. Amari Kelly, another really good receiver from Middle Tennessee State, a, a veteran guy. Um, I think he's going to be great. Guys were high on him earlier and in spring camp, saying he like McCray, he made big plays. Someone had said, I don't remember, but them not being able to recall him even dropping a pass. Um, and I think that's big time. I think he'll be another uh, very key receiver for this team. Evan Boyd coming from Central Michigan. Um, One of the younger guys coming in who, he's got experience, didn't have huge numbers last year, but I think he's good for that depth at that in that room. You've got, of course, Alante Brown coming back, um, Cadillac Brown, who had that injury last year, and um, with him back to full health, that will be key. Um, Him and Omari, I think the punt return, um, as far as your punt returner goes, I think it'll come down to those two. Omari was an all conference honoree for returning. Alante had returned, had been their returner last year before he went down. So I think, I haven't heard anything, but I think it will come down to those two based on, what I just said in terms of their experience there. Um, and then Rodney Bullard, another transfer wide receiver who, um, you know, he had a he had a nice year last year, and um, he's coming from Division 2, but there's a lot of talent down there too. So all in all, with the wide receiver room, I think they just got so much better. Not only did they replace, key losses, but I think they just got better on paper in that room. I really do. And so yeah, that's one of the deeper rooms. And um, let's see, Smith also, mentioned they're bringing back the Meet the Spartans event, which was a long time tradition that fans loved. They said that will be August 21st. So if you plan on going to that, taking the family, mark your calendars, August 21st for that. All in all, I think we got a lot of good stuff from Smith today, as far as kind of updating what's um, what's occurred in spring camp. And like I said, I can't believe it's already almost over. Um, but me personally, yeah, I would have liked to see a spring game. I would have liked to see the product on the field, see those new transfers, see how that wideout room especially has come along, and see how Aiden has connected with them, how that's built up throughout these past few weeks. But unfortunately, won't get to see that, and that's okay. Um, but I do believe that from everything that everyone said, that things are coming along. Still just spring, and we could see more. You know, we likely will see more outgoing transfers. How many? I don't know. Like I said, I don't think it will be nearly the same as the haul last year. Um, but um, you know, there'll also be some transfer additions as well, and a lot can happen until August or July. But like I said, going in the right direction. So fans should be happy. There's reason to be happy, to be hopeful. Um, and I just commend the staff for addressing areas of need through the portal and through their commitment to this thing, to wanting to make changes, to knowing where they need to make changes, how they can make changes, and um, they to be self-aware, to know what the issues are, whether it's getting to the quarterback. That was a big thing that was stressed in camp. Whether it's offensive line, whether it's pass coverage, um, whether it's Aiden being patient in the pocket. That was another thing Smith had said regarding Aiden was he's gotten more physical this year. That's big. Um, and everyone just seems to think that Aiden has grown, and that's expected. It's you know year two of being a starter, and it's time to get going. Time to limit the mistakes and really show what you're made of. So, I'm expecting an improved year from him, and with that, you know, the rest of the offense should come together nicely. As always, thank you everyone for following along. Um, and you know, tune in daily to our coverage of all things Michigan State athletics. We'll be bringing you transfer portal updates regarding football and basketball, should any occur. So, again, thanks so much. Have a great rest of your week, and then go on to have a great weekend and a happy Easter. Thank you.